This first slide gives the big picture about life. At the heart of life is the big question. What is the meaning of life? Does life mean aging, choices, memories, learning, love and hate, joy and sufferings, and replicating DNA? This big question has been the quest since the dawn of civilization. It is in the heart of every human, whether the individual is consciously aware of it or not. Some people prefer to shy away from facing the question or choose to ignore it. The way we handle this question determines how we live our life. If we choose a positive attitude and actively pursue this question, one's life is uplifted, as depicted by the green upward arrow. Seeking for answers becomes a powerful drive force for progress in civilization. For example, religion, science, and philosophy are different avenues to tackle the same question. Therefore, searching for the meaning of life will result in a meaningful life, taking a keen interest in science, philosophy, and religion. Embracing all these aspects in totality is the path to enlightenment. The AWE curriculum is designed to teach the student how to embrace religion, science, and philosophy with a holistic approach. Our ultimate goal is enlightenment. What is enlightenment? It is too soon to define enlightenment during the first lecture. Our first lecture is to introduce the big picture, holistic thinking. For now, it suffices to use an icon such as Mother Teresa to represent an enlightened person living out a meaningful life. At AWE, our curriculum is designed to instill an enlightened thinking mode which will lead to a life of meaning, happiness, and prosperity. On the other hand, the red downward arrow depicts what a meaningless life leads to. A meaningless life is prone to misery, suffering, and chronic depression, like living in a black hole or having a feeling of impending doom, which can lead to unwanted self-destruction. But one with meaningful life can challenge these adverse effects of sufferings, hardships, and difficulties as opportunities for growth. The rest of this presentation aims to learn about this downward direction. First, we'll look at some statistical facts. Then we will distinguish the difference between purpose of life and meaning of life. Finally, we will try to understand mental health, which is one of the three aspects of holistic health. So in slide number 1, we see the big picture in modern language. Now let's go back to approximately 2,550 years ago. We see that the Buddha in India was talking exactly the same thing. He abdicated the throne as a crowned prince instead of becoming the king. He went and searched for the meaning of life and finally reached enlightenment. After he attained enlightenment, which is the up green arrow, he preached his first sermon. He was talking about 8 dukkha, or the 8 sufferings, which is the downward arrow. Dukkha is suffering. According to Buddha's analysis, these are the 8 sufferings. 1, birth. 2, aging. 3, sickness. 4, death. 5, disassociation from loved ones. 6, association with unpleasant conditions. 7, unfulfilled desires. 8, infernal of the 5 aggregates. So you can see the parallel between AWE curriculum and the Buddha's ancient teachings. We can learn a lot about looking at statistics. Brace yourself for some of these hard and sobering facts. Are you ready? About 1 million die by suicide every year worldwide. Worldwide, someone commits suicide every 40 seconds. Here close to home in Canada, 4,000 cases of suicide per year. That is 10 per day on an average. A world map showing countries according to their number of suicides per 100,000 people. As you can see, the color coding illustrates that Greenland in brown tops the scale, followed by East European countries like Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Hungary, Slovakia, the Asian countries that is China, Japan, Korea, and Guyana in red and so forth. This table categorizes the top 5 countries' suicidal rates. Again, Greenland ranks number 1. Why? The Inuit, who make up 88% of Greenland's population, suffer from the same rampant alcoholism that plagues many North American native groups. Depression is bad in the winter, known as SAD, seasonal affective disorder, another major contributing factor. They employ drastic and effective means. The success rate of suicide is high. For your interest, you can click on the links for more details corresponding to the other countries. The leading causes of death in the world 2000 and 2012 ischemic heart diseases, stroke, lower respiratory infections, and chronic obstructive lung disease have remained the top major killers during the past decade. Suicide is number 7 according to this categorization. Look, suicide is 5 times more than war. This table shows the top 15 causes of mortality throughout the world. Suicide falls into the 14th position, and that is because of different categorization of the terms used for heart, lungs, blood diseases, and so forth. In short, suicide means to be at the same level in both tables. U.S. suicide statistics 2001 shows that 1.3% of deaths are suicide cases. 1 suicide per 17 minutes. Elderly suicide rate is every 1 hour 37 minutes. Suicide by the younger population is 1 every 2 hours 12 minutes. It is the second leading cause among college students, more males than females, in the ratio of 5 to 1. More people die from suicide than homicide. 73% suicide deaths are white males. 80% are firearm suicide, and they are white males. Among the highest rates when categorized by gender and race, suicide deaths for white men are those over 85 years old, 54 per 100,000. Purpose. Most of us set goals that help us fulfill our purpose in life, meet our needs, do what we love to do, and do what we're really good at. We understand this quite easily and make every effort to achieve that in life, but it is not the same as understanding the meaning of life. The next slide will clearly illustrate the difference between purpose of life and meaning of life. The most affluent suicidal profession. You would think that people with fame and fortune, a successful career, or having a noble profession can avert the clutches of depression. But statistics data shows that this is far from the truth. In fact, people with very clear purpose in life are also very susceptible to depression and suicide. Every year, we see and hear so and so having manic, chronic, and severe depression ending up in suicidal tendencies and self-destruction. These are cries of help. This table shows the stats for the top 19 suicidal professions. You might be surprised at these. Physicians are the most vulnerable, being the top of the stat list, 1.87 times more likely to commit suicide than average, almost twice as much. Can you see the irony? Doctors can try to cure others, but cannot cure himself. I guess a dentist's profession is extremely mundane, looking into the oral cavity all day long. Can we now see that a purpose of life is not the same as meaning of life? If the distinction is still not clear, let me use a few more examples to illustrate meaning and purpose is not semantics or play of words. 1. Mother Teresa served many charitable purposes, including leprosy clinics, etc., but was in search of the meaning of life all her life. 2. Prince Siddhartha abdicated his purpose, the duty of a crown prince, and sought the meaning of life instead. The meaning of life led him to enlightenment and thus becoming the Sakyamuni Buddha. 3. Arahat has a deep understanding of the meaning of life but has no purpose in life. 4. Every different type of ants in an ant colony has specific purposes, but I don't think ants philosophize on the meaning of life. 5. My purpose in life is to be a good father, a husband, and provider for my family. I don't care about any other meaning in my life as long as I indulge in my family's comfort. 6. Organized crime members from Godfather to foot soldiers all have a very clear purpose of life. Are their lives meaningful? The National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health have 2 reports. In 1995, occupation relating to the medical field has a higher rate of suicide as compared to other occupations. Between 1980 and 1984, analytical statistics on death certificates shows elevated rate of suicide among white male physicians, black male guards, including supervisors, crossing guards, police, protective service occupations, but not correctional institution occupations. Now, dealing with criminals, like being a police, is like either you shoot or being shot. White female painters, sculptors, craft artists, and artist printmakers. Artists, painters have eccentric personalities. Very few can appreciate their work. Therefore, they are lacking attention. Purpose of life is not the same as meaning of life. This clearly shows that meaning of life is entirely different to purpose of life. Understanding and being aware of the meaning of life can lead us to the path of enlightenment, but purpose of life, no doubt, can delude us to depression and suicide. Relying on purpose of life is useless, as indicated by the stats data. Again, we can see the big picture here. Definitions of mental health is a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential and can cope with the normal stresses of life. Mental health is not just the absence of mental illness. AWE improves mental health by instilling an enlightened thinking mode. The opposite of healthy is illness. Mental illness is defined as a serious disturbance in thoughts, feelings, and perceptions that is so severe enough to affect day-to-day functioning. Some of the common terms of mental illness that most of us are familiar with, just to name a few: anxiety disorders, panic attacks, depression, schizophrenia. Contributing factors. Two factors like environment in relation to culture and social and chemicals such as addiction, drug abuse, tobacco are contributing factors of mental health. As you can see, we skip through numerous contributing factors. These are highly individualized triggers. These contributing factors are not common grounds, not common denominators. Let me illustrate by a couple of scenarios. Example, someone might be depressed and suicidal because of lack of support. However, there are many who are actually moved out of their family, established their own independence and career. Another who committed suicide because they fell out of love. Yet, millions of others fell out of love every day, and they don't commit suicide. This is only applicable to that one individual. They are all very individualized triggers, particularly for that individual, or catalysts for some, but have no effect on other people. That is why in the overall scheme of things, let us not just look at this individual tree and lose sight of the forest. Look at the big picture, the common denominator, the root cause. Compared to the big picture, we could see these contributing factors only contribute to a relatively small picture, if you will. These do not address the root of the problem. They are just symptoms, the ends of the problem. At AWE, we need to address the root of the problem that is beneficial to everyone. The common root of the problem is the big picture. It's the meaning of life. Again, let us not look at the tree and lose sight of the forest. Mental health statistics. Mental problems are more common than cancer and heart diseases combined. Mental illness in the US, Canada, and Western Europe rank first among illnesses that result in disability. Globally, 1 in 4 suffer from mental disorders in both developed and developing countries. In 2010, depression ranked second for global disease burden. By 2020, depression is projected to be the leading cause of years lived with disability worldwide. 2020 is predicted to be the year that depression will become the second leading cause of disability in the world, next to heart disease. Statistics facts from Canada. Chances of having a mental illness in your lifetime in Canada is 1 in 5. At any given time, percentage of Canadians who have a mental illness is 10.4%. Percentage of adolescents aged 15 to 24 who report a mental illness or substance abuse problem is 18%. 90% of people who commit suicide are diagnosed with mental illness. under 20 years of age with the highest rate of depression, 20 to 29 years of age with the highest rate of anxiety symptoms. The lifespans of people with serious mental illnesses are 20 years shorter than the average. Mental illness can affect all creeds, irrespective of color, gender, size, the rich or the poor. The big picture. After viewing all these statistics, allow me to stress the importance of the meaning of life. When we understand the real meaning of life, this will lead us to enlightenment. On the other hand, when life is meaningless, that is, no meaning of life, lack of understanding, this will drag us downward into depression. Even highly professionals without meaning of life can succumb to depression. In conclusion, mental illness is very common and can affect everyone to different degrees. Stigma, myths, and discrimination need to be dispelled. The worst outcome is homicide and suicide. Purpose of life is not enough. The meaning of life is the answer. AWE curriculum is to find the meaning of life. Thank you.